So, the last video I posted stirred up quite a few opinions. Some of you laughed, some of you got offended, and a few of you probably reported me for hurting your political feelings. Sometimes you missed the mark with a video, and I think that might have been the case with my previous one about Trump, and I'm totally okay admitting that. But let's be honest, satire always ruffles feathers. That being said, I think it's important to show that being critical doesn't mean being blindly negative. I may have joked about some of the chaos, but I also respect facts. And facts include the things that have gone well under President Trump's second term. This isn't about flipping sides, this is about being fair. Because if I can call out what's going wrong, I should also be willing to recognize what's going right. So today, let's talk about the good things Trump has done in 2025. Let's start with one of Trump's signature issues, border security. In early 2025, Trump signed bilateral agreements with Mexico and Guatemala to expand coordinated enforcement and streamline asylum processing centers before migrants reach the U.S. border. These agreements led to a 17% drop in illegal crossings compared to Q4 2024. And unlike his first term, this time he focused less on symbolic wall building and more on diplomatic partnerships, something many expected he'd never do. You can call it optics, but results are results. Trump's tough talk on NATO wasn't just posturing this time around. By mid-2025, 7 more countries met the 2% GDP defense spending target, partly due to continued pressure from the U.S. under Trump's second term. European allies started stepping up, not because they love Trump, but because they fear his unpredictability. In a strange twist of logic, Trump's bold approach got results, and NATO actually became more financially balanced. Not traditional diplomacy, but arguably effective. While inflation has been a concern, one thing Trump has delivered is business confidence. By May 2025, small business creation hit a 6-year high, thanks in part to rollback regulations on energy, construction, and logistics. Several sectors, particularly manufacturing and transportation, saw renewed growth after new tax credits were introduced for domestic reinvestment. Critics say it favors the rich, and maybe it does, but job growth in industrial states like Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania is real and measurable. Trump has always been vocal about supporting veterans, and in 2025, that translated into a streamlined VA healthcare portal, faster appointment times, and broader mental health access. According to internal VA metrics, wait times dropped by 28% nationally, and veteran satisfaction hit its highest point in over a decade. Credit where it's due. The system got better, and that matters. Another area where Trump surprised many was in strategic investments in tech independence, particularly with microchip manufacturing. Through public-private partnerships and subsidies passed early this year, the U.S. expanded domestic chip production capacity by 15%, aiming to reduce dependency on Taiwan and China. It wasn't just talk this time. Intel, AMD, and smaller U.S. fabs actually broke ground on new plants, partly thanks to pro-business incentives from this administration. Not flashy, not viral, but important for national security. This flew under the radar, but Trump extended parts of the First Step Act in early 2025, focusing on non-violent federal offenders and rehabilitation programs. This time, the expansion included digital education and job training for inmates preparing for reentry. Over 30,000 federal inmates enrolled in the new system by June. It's not something his base always highlights, but it is meaningful. While the U.S.-China relationship is still tense, Trump's latest trade negotiations led to renewed cooperation on intellectual property protections and rare earth mineral access, a huge win for U.S. tech and defense. Instead of blanket tariffs, his administration focused on targeted negotiations that unlocked $8.7 billion in trade deals, benefiting U.S. manufacturing and energy sectors. Surprisingly, this was one of the more balanced trade agreements in recent years. So no, Trump's second term hasn't been a disaster across the board. In fact, if you strip away the noise, the trolling, and the online drama, there have been clear wins in security, tech, veterans care, and trade. It's okay to admit that. It doesn't make you a fanboy, It makes you honest. Being objective means praising when things go right and questioning when they don't. I did that last video, and I'm doing it now. You don't have to love Trump to acknowledge progress, just like you don't have to hate him to criticize the chaos. Thanks for watching, and remember, political opinions aren't loyalty tests. They're just part of being awake, aware, and responsible